Tomorrow morning at exactly 11:03 a.m., something will happen that most people have never heard of. The planet of your mind, your words, your decisions will be swallowed by the sun. This is called Mercury Cazimi, and in the next few minutes, you'll discover why ancient astrologers feared this moment and why it could be the most powerful reset of your entire year. In the next few minutes, you'll discover three things. First, why ancient Babylonian astronomers considered this specific moment a reset of the divine record, and what that actually means for a decision you've been postponing. Second, the exact physical reason why Mercury in Pisces burns differently than any other Kazimi, and why this one, in 2026, arrives unlike any in the last 7 years. Third, a three-step protocol tied to the exact timing of this event that uses the astronomy, not belief, to change what your mind keeps returning to at 3 in the morning. You've been waking between 3 and 4 a.m. this week, not from noise, not from pain, something older than both. An old conversation has been replaying, words said years ago arriving uninvited, exactly as they were. A pressure behind the sternum, not grief, not nothing. A decision you feel you need to make but cannot name. That's not a glitch in your thinking. That's the symptom of what's been happening in the sky. You've heard about Mercury retrograde. Technology fails. Don't sign contracts. That's the surface noise. This is about something underneath it. Mercury is in Pisces, and Pisces is the only sign in the zodiac where Mercury carries both detriment and fall simultaneously. Detriment means the planet operates far from its natural function. Fall means it cannot hold its own weight. For weeks, your mind has not been reasoning. It has been narrating, constructing stories around something that has no clean resolution. And now, in its weakest state, it moves into the heart of the sun. 4 days ago, March 3rd, a total lunar eclipse occurred at 12 degrees Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. At the moment of that eclipse, its ruler was already drifting toward the fire. Tomorrow's Kazimi is not a new event. It is the culmination of a process you have already been feeling. Tomorrow morning, at exactly 11:03 Eastern, that window opens and closes in minutes. Tonight, before you sleep, take a physical piece of paper. Write one sentence that begins, "The story I keep telling myself about blank is blank." Not your phone. Paper. Leave it until morning. But before we reach what burns, you need to understand the physics of what is happening above your head right now. Because what you feel at 3 in the morning has an exact coordinate, an exact degree, an exact moment, and that moment is not a metaphor. Right now, above your head, Mercury is moving toward one exact point in space, 16 degrees and 52 minutes of Pisces. That's where the burning happens. You have been told that Mercury retrograde is the time to slow down. Don't make decisions, don't sign contracts, wait it out. That's accurate, as far as it goes. But inside every retrograde, there is one moment that operates by different rules. This is that moment. Here is what that means in physical terms. There are two kinds of Mercury-Sun conjunction. The first is called superior conjunction. Mercury passes behind the Sun on the far side of the solar system at its greatest distance from Earth. The second is inferior conjunction. Mercury passes between the Earth and the Sun. Tomorrow at 11:03 a.m. Eastern, Mercury enters that second configuration. It is not moving away from you. It is moving toward you. At the exact moment, Mercury is described as burning in the heart of the Sun. It is the closest planet to Earth in the entire solar system. Traditional astrology says Mercury burns. Physics says Mercury is nearer to you than at any other point in its cycle. Both are true simultaneously. The Kazimi window itself is narrower than most people realize. The classical orb, documented in medieval Arabic sources, is 17 arc minutes. 1 arc minute is 1/60th of a degree. That zone is smaller than the width of your thumbnail held at arm's length against the sky. Mercury enters it, crosses it, and exits. In hours. In less than 18 hours, Mercury will reach that point, closest it has been to you all year, carrying a question your mind has been constructing and avoiding for weeks. The pressure behind your sternum, the pause before a sentence you haven't said, the breath held before a decision you keep not making. These have a coordinate, 16 degrees 52 minutes Pisces. This morning, before 11:03, take the paper from last night. Read what you wrote, out loud, once, slowly. Don't edit it, don't explain it to yourself. Just hear it in your own voice. Mercury rules speech. At the moment of maximum proximity, the planet of the word is closest to the one using words. That's not ceremony. That's timing. The people who first recorded this moment understood something about it that was later lost in translation. What they actually wrote and what it means for the next 12 hours is not what you've heard before. The Babylonians did not fear this moment. That requires a correction because the hook told you they did. Here is what the record actually shows. The Babylonian astronomical diaries, held in the British Museum, represent the longest continuous observational record in human history. Systematic tracking of Mercury's inferior conjunctions begins in the 7th century BCE. These are not myths, they are numerical logs, degree, date, planetary position, what followed. The series known as Enuma Anu Enlil, approximately 70 omen tablets, documents what inferior conjunction meant to those observers. The term used is Reshtu Shari, the words of kings, not catastrophe. A change in the official record, a closing of one statement and the opening of another. Mercury was Nabu, god of writing, accounting, the assignment of fate. Inferior conjunction was not his death. It was his return to the source, a clearing of the ledger. The Egyptians recorded the same configuration through Thoth entering the body of Ra. Return to origin. Not destruction, recalibration. The fear arrived later. In medieval Europe, Arabic astronomical texts were translated into Latin, and two separate terms collapsed into one. Kazimi, from Kazmum, meaning in the heart, described a planet at peak strength inside the solar fire. Combustion described a planet weakened by proximity to the sun. Different conditions, different meanings. In translation, they merged. For roughly 1,300 years, the strongest point in Mercury's cycle has been misread as its weakest. What the original observers recorded was this: inferior conjunction closes a cycle of incomplete statements. It does not create confusion. It ends the period in which confusion was inevitable. 4 days ago, the eclipse at 12 degrees Virgo opened a question. Tomorrow, Kazimi delivers the condition under which that question can be answered, not through logic, but through what the fire removes. By the time most people wake up tomorrow, the window will already be narrowing. What burns is not what you thought. Here is what is actually burning. Not your decisions, not your plans, not the relationship or the job or the city. What burns in a Mercury Cazimi in Pisces is the story you have been telling yourself to make something unresolved feel resolved. Pisces is the 12th sign. In traditional astrology, the 12th house carries a specific designation: Inimicus ex se ipso, the hidden enemy that comes from within. Mercury in this sign, in detriment and fall simultaneously, has spent weeks unable to distinguish memory from interpretation, fact from the frame you placed around it. The story was invisible because Pisces is the only sign where that kind of construction can exist without edges. No borders, no resistance, just a narrative, breathing quietly, taking up space you didn't know it occupied. Right now, as you hear this, Mercury is still closing the distance, 16 degrees and 52 minutes of Pisces. By the time most people wake up, the window will already be inside it. What you notice won't arrive as insight. It will arrive as a moment when something you've been defending, quietly, automatically, for longer than you'd admit, suddenly offers no resistance. Not because you changed your mind, because the fire showed you there was nothing solid underneath it. Between 9 a.m. and 11:03 a.m. Eastern, take the paper, read the sentence from the night before, then write one line beneath it. What I actually know to be true, separate from that story, is blank. Don't destroy the paper, don't read it again today. Place it somewhere it won't catch your eye. 2 sentences, 1 space between them. That space is the work. Where this lands depends on where 16 degrees 52 minutes Pisces falls in your chart. For Pisces, the fire moves through your sense of self, not who you were, the version you constructed to survive what changed. The question isn't about the loss, it's about whether the identity you built around it still fits. For Virgo, The seventh house activates. The story under examination isn't about the other person. It never was. It's the explanatory structure you built to make their behavior make sense. That structure is what burns. For Gemini, the 10th house, the narrative about relevance, not your capability, your story about whether it still counts, whether what you've built still holds the weight you once assigned it. For Sagittarius, the 4th house, the version of home that no longer exists, the family configuration you're still grieving without calling it grief, the image of how things were supposed to be. For every other sign, the fire is still present. The degree activates specific houses, but the nature of what burns is the same. A story your mind has been protecting. There is a specific quality to silence after fire. It's not peace, not yet. It's something older than peace, and in that space, something unexpected happens to the body. 11:03 has passed, or it is passing right now as you hear this. Either way, the window is no longer in front of you. It's already inside you. There is nothing left to catch. What follows this moment is not clarity in the way you might expect. Mercury is still retrograde. It will remain retrograde until March 17th, when it stations direct at 7 degrees 26 minutes Pisces. Between today and that station, 10 days. What was burned has not yet been replaced. The old narrative is gone or going. The new one hasn't formed. This is not a failure of the process. This is the process. The Babylonian record described this interval as a cleared ledger, not yet rewritten. The space between the last entry and the first new line. You are in that space now. Your body knows it before your mind does. The phone you set down and didn't reach for again. The thought that surfaced, the familiar one, the one that used to pull the whole chain behind it, and this time moved through without catching. The weight you've been carrying in your shoulders that isn't pain, exactly. Just the physical memory of holding something suspended for a very long time. Somewhere right now, someone is lying still in a quiet room, not knowing why the silence feels different than it did last week. No name for it, no explanation offered, just different. This is happening in more than one place, in more rooms than can be counted. A shared interval, without a shared language for it. Mercury continues its retrograde arc toward 7 degrees 26 minutes Pisces. Slower now. The peak is behind it. What comes next is not reversal. It is a gradual return to forward motion, degree by degree, over 10 days. This is not the time to interpret what happened. Not yet. Tonight, take the paper with both sentences. Draw a single line between them, physical, with a pen. Place it somewhere it won't be visible. A drawer. Between the pages of a book. Do not read it again before March 17th. When Mercury stations direct, read both sentences with 10 days of distance between you and the fire. The line you draw is not a conclusion. It is a held space. What lives in that space doesn't need words yet, and it won't stay empty for long. Not because you fill it, because something is already moving toward it, and it is arriving wearing the face of something you haven't let yourself want in a long time. The space where that story used to live doesn't stay empty. Not because you rushed to fill it, you didn't. But tonight, the same night as the Kazimi, within hours of the fire, something else is already moving into position above you. Venus and Neptune are aligning in Aries. This specific configuration, these two planets, in this sign, has not occurred since 1861. Neptune returns to Aries once every 164 years. It entered this sign recently, and Venus is the first planet to meet it there. What that means, in practical terms, the part of you that wants, that reaches toward something, toward someone, toward a version of your life that hasn't arrived yet, is operating tonight without the usual walls around it. Aries is the first sign. Impulse. The unrehearsed step. Venus here doesn't calculate. Neptune here doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is luminous enough to feel real. You may think of someone tonight, or something. A version of your life you set aside years ago and told yourself was finished. It will not arrive with hesitation. It will arrive feeling like recognition, like, this is what I was waiting for. That feeling is real. What you feel is real. The question, which arrives 24 hours later when Saturn aligns with Venus in the same degree, is a different kind of question entirely. Saturn does not respond to beauty, it responds to structure. It asks what can carry weight over time and what only appears to, in the right light, at the right hour. You are moving through a specific sequence. Eclipse on March 3rd, something opened. Kazimi on March 7th, a narrative burned. Venus-Neptune on March 7th, the cleared space receives its first signal. Venus-Saturn on March 8th, that signal is tested. This is not 4 separate events. It is one wave. You are already inside it. Tonight, lie down earlier than usual. If you wake between 3 and 4 a.m., don't reach for the phone. The body is processing more than one thing. Let it. Mercury just burned away the lie your mind was telling you. But there is something your mind has never been able to reach, your heart. And tomorrow night, Venus, the planet of love and everything you desire, will align with Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusion. In one single night, you will feel a love that seems almost too beautiful to be real, because some of it isn't. 24 hours after that, Saturn arrives, and Saturn doesn't ask how something feels. It asks whether it's built to last. Tomorrow's video is the one I've been building toward for 2 weeks. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because what Venus and Saturn reveal about your relationships in the next 48 hours is not something you want to miss.